Okay.
So that's pretty.
For the price.
Can you hear me, Josh? There we go. Good. All right. First up, electronic participation is no longer needed. So we'll move into closed session. Section 2.2, 3711. Be it resolved that the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby enters into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following. Code Section 2.2-3711, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. 1, Adjustment and Appeals Board. 2, Library Board. 3, County Administrator position. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Into closed meeting. All right, do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All right, let me read that. Be it resolved, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia, hereby is, I'm sorry, we are already out of closed session.
Yeah.
How about a vote? Thank you.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, how about certification of closed meeting? Let me read that code section. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has conveyed a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
At this time, if I can ask our County Administrator, Mr. Craig Meadows, if he'll lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, ma'am. If we could rise, if you're able, for a moment of silence, and then I'll lead us in the pledge. Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Up first, Virginia Department of Transportation, Mr. Clark. Good evening.
Good evening. I'll go through a couple of the maintenance items here in just a second, but first off, we had a couple kind of projects you might have seen going on. One was we took some of the used some of the safety money and built a small, but I think going to be very effective right turn lane on 460 westbound at Craig Creek Road. If you're out that way, you will notice that. And that was at the request, I believe, of a citizen who had talked to us about it. And actually, we went out and drove it. And even though it's a 4-lane road, you can be slowing down to turn on Craig Creek Road and have someone behind you very fast, very quickly. So I think that gives them a little bit of refuge getting off that. And it turned out to be a pretty good project. The other you might have seen is on 460 Business, kind of near Janelle Road, where Janelle Road comes in. What's going on over Memorial Day weekend? That was a pipe failure from the pipe on the near Estes car lot there, garage, over to the median. It was deep, very deep. Yeah. The workers down there had to have shoring in there before they got down in there. The pipe was bad going both directions. We ended up having to replace it all the way over there, and unfortunately had to have that large excavation for quite a while through there. But we shorted up pretty well. It turned out to be safe for everyone. We didn't have any incidences during the time, and it's all now fixed and should hold for quite a while. Other things going on are more Well, there's another safety improvement project that we're doing at, here out Catawba Road, out towards Mossy Springs. We've been taking down a slope, very, very large slope. It's pretty high up there. Asking to improve sight distance. And they've been working on that. Other kind of just maintenance stuff is, as we're getting towards the end of the year and having to make sure we, don't overspend as we get to the end of the fiscal year, is, a lot of just machining of the other gravel roads. We did get the mowing done. And we've been doing a lot of ditching. Some of that's ahead of the paving operations, but we've done mowing in pretty much all the areas. We did some ditching, not mowing. Ditching on Norris Run, Taylor Hollow, Gate Road, Walton Road, Laurel Ridge, just kind of all over the place with some of that ditching. And you'll be seeing a lot more of that here in the upcoming year. We're going to focus on a lot of brush cutting, a lot of ditching as we get into the extra. Some funds we're getting from the maintenance division to hit some of those things in the new fiscal year. So that's all I have.
Very good. We'll go around the room with our board members. We'll start off with Supervisor Shepherd.
Good evening, Mr. Clark. On our agenda for this evening, we're up for a vote for the 6-year plan. I've had some questions from individuals that live up there. They wanted it on the list, of course, and it's on the list to be voted on. Is there a priority to that list, or is that just kind of as the money deems necessary?
It's generally a priority list. The board can put it at whatever number it would like. The draft plans I read, I just repeat whatever was last year's. So as we finish certain items, like we just did it wasn't much of the road, but we did get the low water bridge on Taylor Hollow and moved the Taylor Hollow road part back a little bit till we figured out the right of way and the alignment. So Poplar Hollow is on there, Taylor Hollow. Craig Mountain Road is going to be done this year, but that's just a very small section. And then Bobcat will be added. But right now, as it stands in the draft plan, and again, the board can put it at any priority number that it would like. It would replace the projects the Craig Mountain and the Taylor Hollow Bridge as they are going off the plan, and we therefore have room to put Bobcat on there. It's about a 0.4 of a mile long road and has quite a bit of traffic.
Yeah, and it's pretty much ready, right? I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's fairly wide. I mean, it's going to take. We have to do some drainage. I don't know. We haven't even looked at it to see if we might need any donated right of way. We just usually tend to try to get about 16 foot of pavement, 1 foot shoulders, and some ditch. There may be enough room in a lot of the spots for that, as I recall. And it's fairly straight, but if you get into a curve somewhere and there are a house close to the road, we might need to get some donated right of way. So that would be a little bit of extra stuff we'd have to do. So we would go in there and grade it and cut it down a lot of stuff, redo the ditches, put several inches of stone in there and put a surface treatment over top.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Good. Supervisor Fidzikowski.
I'll start off first with, I don't know who you've got running the motor grader, but what an excellent job they did on that 0.3 of a mile of Mount Pleasant that's not paved. Even adding, looked like some pull-offs that I never noticed before, but maybe they were always there, just covered up. But very good job. That's as smooth as you can get a gravel road.
I'll get them on Willis Hollow then.
Well, now, if you want a really good job, we can fill in those potholes that we still got out there. I was kind of hoping by now that the crew would have gotten out. Are they out, or have you started?
They'll be patching little bits here and there all around it. They may take a week and try to do a little bit more. That is a little bit more expensive because of the material, so we're probably focusing on the mowing and the grading and the ditching, which doesn't require purchasing material right now.
Well, I know Mount Pleasant doesn't get as much as Allegheny Springs does, so that probably should come first. But we appreciate what you're doing, and things are looking good, so thank you.
Supervisor King.
Thank you for being here. Just a quick thing. I know we contacted you about doing a traffic study at Union Valley and Route 8. Mm-hmm. And maybe I don't know how long it'd take you to do that, but maybe we could wait till school starts again so we can get the real count.
That's probably a good idea, yeah. That gets quite a bit busier during the school year.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
Supervisor DeMotts?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Supervisor Bone?
The list that Opal Road is on, you were going to re-look at the costs. How long is that going to take?
We'll use a kind of a rule of thumb on that, and I can have you one this week.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be more than $200,000. It might be 250 to 300,000.
Yeah, and I knew that the number was off
Yeah.
because I had heard that number before. So.
General unpaved roads. When we're doing a rural rustic, we figure 100,000 for a tenth. That's a little bit. It's not quite in as good a shape as one of those. It's not in as good shape as Bobcat. But it's still it's not going to be, but so much more because it's so short. I think it's only 0.2 of a mile long.
Not even, I think.
Yeah.
The other question is the Luster's Mill Road off of Harding Road. You know, the drainage that goes into
yes.
that. The resident sent me a video when it was raining real bad. I don't know when you're planning on going out there or getting us a update of what you're going to do. But
There is a plan. I don't know what the date on that is. I'll ask our guys when they plan on getting to that. It involves a new pipe. It should get some of that water. At least the water that's from the roads. There's not a lot we can do with water that comes off another property across the street.
right. And are you doing ditching on the other side of the road?
I'm not sure. Downstream of that pipe, perhaps. Upstream of it, I think they put in some rock near on the shoulder of the road, so we'll have to look and see how that affects it.
So I'll be forwarding you the video.
Yeah, I'd like to
I
see it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Vice Chair Biggs?
No questions, but thank you for being here.
Mr. Clark, just wanted to follow up a citizen about the problem with Interstate 81 traffic being detoured coming through Glade Road and through that subdivision, and how something we could do to alleviate or let tractor trailers know that they can't make that left turn out going on Tower Road.
I apologize for not responding to you on that. I did talk to the mayor about it because he was on that email as well. We discussed a couple things. He understands the difficulty of kind of what we need to do. Some of that traffic trying to detour does go down Falling Branch Road, but when they get into all of that neighborhood is within the town. So we could probably find something as far as a sign. You know, we could do a formal no through trucks sign that would require a public hearing and several things, which it can be done. We've done them before on no through trucks. It just takes there's a process, a legal process to prohibit a certain type of vehicle on a road that would carry normally, not a weight limit like a bridge. You can do it with that without the public hearing, but to prohibit any kind of traffic, you have to go through a legal process, and we can do that. I plan on getting a meeting maybe with the sheriff's office and the town police and the mayor and try to work on that. But I did get your email, and I meant to call you as I called the mayor, and I didn't get around to that part.
That's okay. Would something in the meantime be, or maybe something simple would be signage letting tractor trailers know that they're not going to be able to make that turn or U-turn?
We can definitely do a not recommended. They tend not to pay attention to those, but you know they have proven effective. And I saw some of the pictures at the Citizen Center. The guy trying to make that turn on the Tower Road, and it's just tight, and it wasn't meant for tractor trailers.
Right. So something, because it would just be unsafe. It blocks up traffic.
Sure.
And then if you have a lot, can you imagine several tractor trailers and then they can't back up because of the congestion, not able to make that left turn? So,
Yeah.
Something to make sure that they're aware that it's unsafe for them to do
Yeah.
that. It's okay. All right. Well, very good. As always, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, members? Thank you, Mr.
Thanks a
Clark.
lot.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we have a public hearing tonight This is for a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration of the Code of the County of Montgomery, Virginia, by adding Section 2-17, Cost Reimbursement for Emergency Medical Transport, authorizing the county to charge reasonable fees for the use of emergency medical service vehicles, including charging insurers for ambulance services, effective July 1st, 2023. And I do not have anyone signed up for the public hearing, but if any citizen would like to come forward, they have 4 minutes to address the board on this issue. And if you'll state your name and address, sir, you'll have 4 minutes.
My name is Wayman Pack from Roanoke, Virginia. The portion that you read about the cost reimbursement for emergency medical transport, it says reasonable fees. And a few things come into mind there. What determines what is reasonable? How the rates be calculated? Will it be calculated on the distance to a medical facility? Will it be calculated on the severity of the patient's condition? Will it be calculated on the number of respondents to the emergency? How often can the rates be adjusted? Will there be a public discussion on future rate increases? How will these funds be used by the county? Will they go into one large account and be distributed to different departments? Or will it be dispersed based on the number of calls each department makes? Or will it be dispersed based on the vehicles involved in the emergency calls? Excuse me. The number of respondents of the vehicles used. Will one department receive more funds because the age of the vehicles used may not receive as high fuel mileage as others? Under your compassionate billing policy, states all consumers of ambulance services will be asked in writing to provide information regarding available insurance coverage. When is this information obtained? What happens when the patient is unable to respond? No one on the scene has information. When will this written information be made available to the patient? Are you depending on USPS to deliver notices, or are you going to put printers in the ambulances? Last thing is, it says this ordinance shall become effective July 1st, 2023. Is this revision a consequence of the board recently approving the lowest tax rate advertised and looking for new revenue streams? Or is this something that has been on the table for a longer period of time? I have to say the timing is suspicious. The implementation of this ordinance revision is a done deal as shown in the text. Only the amounts and rates are yet to be finalized. Personally, I have no objection to the general premise of this ordinance. However, I encourage this board to look at these rates in a fiscally responsible manner and not attempt to make them on a par with local fully paid services. After all, we are blessed to have many volunteers in this county that give freely of their time, and the equipment is provided by taxpayers and grants. Some of these questions may seem asinine, but when a new tax or user fee is being imposed on the citizens, I believe in total transparency. Last but not least, I would like to express my appreciation to the staff of the county administrator. I had personal business near this building last week and stopped in to get a copy of this proposed amendment. I was greeted promptly with a smile, and a copy was soon in my hands. However, it was revised after I picked it up, but so be it. However, I do have a recommendation for future items. I'm retired and I live not too far away and happen to be in the area. So imagine a resident in the Riverside area working a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job in Roanoke. If possible, I'd like for future amendments to be posted on the county website instead of just having a link saying where to pick up a copy. It would be much more convenient. Again, transparency.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to come forward for this public hearing? Seeing no one come forward, we will close this public hearing.
If it is okay, what we thought is we will have this item under new business. It's under new business as well. We can address those questions at that time if you'd like.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Public address, guidelines for public address. The Board of Supervisors allows citizens to present comments on issues deserving their attention during public address at each meeting. I have a sign-up sheet, which I do not have anyone signed up, but any citizen can come forward. Each citizen will come forward as speaking as an individual or representative. Each speaker has 4 minutes. All comments must be directed to the chair or other supervisors from the speaker's lectern at the front of the room. Each speaker will need to begin by stating their name and address. Debate between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Speakers may leave any written statements or comments to supervisors with the board clerk. Speakers will be judged out of order should the speaker engage in any personal attacks, use profanity or abusive language, or debate with the audience and not address the supervisors. Anyone would like to come forward? You have 4 minutes.
I think it's upside down, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, my name is Bob Beard. I live here in Christiansburg. My first question is, do any of these pictures look familiar? I know we were talking about Christiansburg High School, and Christiansburg, they did at the last school board meeting, did an update and so forth, and they had some pictures very similar to these. But these pictures are actually from Salem High School. And you'll notice here, on this one right here, this is the front, the new front construction. And I'll come back to the budget in just a second. And next we have, here's some pictures from the school. We have here's the cafeteria with a whole big old wall of windows, just like at the new school, okay? And here's where the principal's in the new media room, okay? They increased capacity by 60%. They had 22 new classrooms, okay? They moved the library to the front of the building and so forth. The list is English what they did, but main thing is they got new construction and renovations, all for $35 million. Not for $110 million. They're proposing, guys, that we spend $110 million for that CHS renovation, and they're moving $20 million of other capital funds. You guys have given them $11 million extra the last 5 years. They want to move another $20 million to that project at the sake of hurting the rest of the county. You guys we've got overcrowding issues coming up at Blacksburg because of all the new construction. In the meeting last week, they had all kinds of different other capital projects they couldn't do because they didn't have any money. The track at East Montgomery High School. Okay, this is endless. They didn't buy any buses with this year's budget, but they want to move $20 million over. So it's $110 million for a project Salem just did for $35 million. Okay, I know inflation is not 250%. I need you guys to ask this school board on MCPS. What's the difference between the two projects? Why is it 250% more? Why is it what's 110 minus 35? 80 million more dollars. Doesn't make sense. That's for $1,000. Sorry, 60 million. That's over $1,000 per registered voter in this county. And we want to spend $20 million. We want to sacrifice $20 million more dollars on for the sake of the rest of the county. I just think you guys need to ask some hard questions when they present their new budget and their new plans and so forth. Why they're spending so much money on one school. All right, thank you.
Would anyone else like to come forward for a public address? Seeing no one come forward, we will close public address. Addendum?
No addendum this evening, Madam Chair.
Very good. Do I have a motion to move into work session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Chakowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
First up is Christiansburg High School project update. Montgomery County Public Schools.
Board members, I believe we have a group from the school system here with us this evening. Good to see you.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone. We have our architect here, I think, who's going to go over, present an overview first, if that's correct, Josh?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Josh Bauer with Crabtree Warbon Associates Architects. What we're going to do is we're going to show a video first. It's about, maybe, it's about 6 minutes, so I'll do a little bit of narration as we're going through it, just so that way, maybe kind of good at that desktop.
Jim's
She's coming to help
She's
you.
coming to, oh, you
You're
got
going to
it.
start it for me? Great, that's even better.
It's the top right, I believe.
Okay, can you guys see that in your screens? Okay, so we're going to start off going through the front entrance. So this is the entrance facing Independence. So what we're going to do is first walk into the security vestibule, and off to your right-hand side, you'll see the reception area with lots of visibility from the reception area to the front parking lot and also to the vestibule. Now we're going to start walking down Main Street of the school itself. To the right is going to be the classrooms, toilet rooms, elevator. To your left, you can see the dining room for the cafeteria. So we're going to do a little bit of swoop around the cafeteria itself. So for those who have had an opportunity to be inside of the existing Christiansburg High School, I think they have 5 windows total. So we're now, just in the cafeteria alone, we're going to be amplifying the amount of windows. So off to our right is the kitchen and the serving room. You can see the windows looking outside to the exterior, facing Independence. A couple points, you can see the ribbon windows across the top. We'll get to those when we get up to the second floor. Okay, so now we're going to start walking back down Main Street. So straight ahead is going to be it is about 11 classrooms on the first floor of the addition. So now we're going to walk back down Main Street, and we're going to do is a little bit of a turnaround and look back up the stairs, which we'll get to in a few minutes. So those stairs lead up to the media center, the library. Okay, we're going to turn back around. Now off to your left, we're going to poke around here. This is CI, so this is going to be the museum, talking about the history of the school. So we'll have display cases and other historical memorabilia pasted all along the walls going down this corridor. Another thing that's worth interest is that all of the wayfinding has historical pictures associated with it. So you can see things like the band, music, sports will all have actual historical photos along with that. So now, if you've been into Christiansburg High School, these are the existing stairs that lead you from the first floor to the second floor. This gives us an opportunity to make a space to kind of celebrate the school, along with the opening up a little bit. As we're going to come around, we're going to hop up to up towards the second floor, which is going to be the gymnasium lobby. We're going to high-five the student who's saying hi to us. Kind of spin back around. So this is actually the existing precast stairs that were built in 1972. And I'm going to take a walk, and we're going to head right up to the gymnasium lobby. So this is the main gym lobby. So if you go there for a basketball game or volleyball, so you see display cases. We have the concession stands along with water fountains and toilet rooms are all located in the space. Now we're going to head into the gym itself. In the main gym, we're going to be replacing the wood floor, the bleachers, along with lighting, HVAC. If you've been inside the gym for an event, it's a little hard to understand because the HVAC unit is so loud. What we're going to do is we're going to take that and put it up on the roof to make it a much more enjoyable experience. Now we're going to head out to the auxiliary gym, which is still full basketball court size. One thing that's important is this can have a separate function. We also have the doors that can connect the two. So if there's a wrestling event, a volleyball event that's happening, it's going to be easier to connect the two different spaces. I was going to go over here. We're going to head to the right. Look to your right. What you can see is the window that looks down into the dining room. So you kind of have that connectivity between the first floor and second floor. Now off to the right is concessions and the student store. So one more brief look here at and we're actually going to be flipping the student store and the concessions to make them a little bit more functional. So another shot of the lobby for the gym. What we're going to do is we're going to turn to the right, and we're going to do a little bit of jog down this corridor. Now we're up on the second floor. Off to your left is a student commons area. This is a collaborative learning space for larger groups to be able to meet on your left. And just beyond that brick wall is the existing auditorium. Now what we're going to do is we're going to head down to the right. We're going to head, you can see off to the right now now you're up on the second floor looking down onto the cafeteria space. And then we're going to walk straight ahead to the media center, to your library. Again, for those who've been in the existing Christiansburg library, there's really not a whole lot of daylight. It's a very kind of dark space with low ceiling height. This is a much higher volume space. Lower bookshelves, even I can see over the top of them, which is fantastic. And lots of natural daylight coming into the space. This is a student teaching space. Now we're going to head over by the reception desk. And we're going to head out to the corridor. And we're going to look off to the right. One of my favorite spaces is the toilet rooms. So one thing that you'll see is this is one of the styles of toilet rooms where the sinks are out in the open with stalls, each stall being an individual with floor to ceiling height. We have we also have individual toilets and traditional boys and girls rooms for the students. Now here you can see an example of a sitting area, a bench area in the corridor for students to be able to collaborate, charge their personal devices, and then we're going to head into a classroom. A typical classroom. Our goal was to get as many of the classrooms to have natural daylight. So you can see the intelligent wall in the front of the wall with the whiteboards and the marker boards, casework off to your left for storage. What we're going to do is we're going to head back out, do a little jog again towards the media center, which is off to your left. We're going to head down the stairs, back to the dining room. One more quick shot of the dining room, then we're going to head outside. Going to take another shot of the front elevation of the building. And then we're going to do a little bit of a time lapse as we close out. And we go from day to evening to night. Okay. So that is the video, and now we'll go through and give you a quick update on the actual project itself. Okay, so we're going to talk about the exterior elevations. We're going to go over the site plan and the improvements that we're planning to make. Go over the revised floor plans. We're going to talk about project phasing. How are we going to make this happen? And we're going to review where we are on the project schedule and how we're going to play out the next couple of months and the next 2 years. So these are the elevations. You get to see them a little bit in the video. So this is with our back to North Franklin. Our left would be to Independence. You can see we have the Christiansburg C on the end of the building. The majority of the exterior of the building is brick. So one of the things that 1970s was not a really great decade for architects. Let's be honest. It was not an awesome decade. So one of the things that we cannot really produce is the existing brick. It's not really made anymore. So we have complementary brick, and we're also kind of doing a break. So you can see the darker brick, which will be adjacent to the existing brick. And then we're going to have that lighter color brick in the front, along with a little bit of metal panel. And you can see just focusing on allowing as much natural daylight to come into the space. A little bit of a blow up. This is the 2-story classroom wing. And so in the addition, we're creating 22 classrooms, which will help us not only from the standpoint of getting additional capacity for the growing student body, but also allow us to have a little bit better flow from a phasing standpoint. This is the front elevation with our back to Independence. Our right would be to North Franklin. So going from left to right would be the auxiliary gym where it says the big Christiansburg C on your left-hand side. Below that is the kitchen. The wall of glass is going to be the dining room. And you can see kind of the 2-story space. That's the front entrance, and then above that is the media center. Off to the right on the ground level is your admin, and then above that is student services. And on the right-hand side is the 2-story classroom wing. Just a little bit closer, showing the front entrance and the media center. Remember the lights in the media center and that student common space. A couple things that are important is that we've had some really great sessions with Christiansburg Police, with Blacksburg and also the Sheriff's Department, talking about the safety and security, because there are very things that are more important to us and to all of us to make sure that both the students and the staff are safe. And I believe that we received glowing assurance that what we were doing is as safe and secure of a building as we could possibly make it, moving forward with this particular building. So as we're looking at in the next couple of months, and we receive bids and begin with the project. So over the winter, over the Christmas holiday, is that we made some modifications to the bus loop, which is on the left-hand side. What we do is we shifted the buses and made the student parking spaces just a little bit smaller by about 32 spaces. What we're also going to be doing is, as we move forward into the fall, into the August term, is that we will be having the car drop off, which will go to the planned right of the building, go around the back of the building and be dropping off. We ran a couple different scenarios. We believe that this was going to be get the most amount of cars off of Independence, while keeping it, I said, safe for the parents and also for the students. So phase zero. Phase zero is some work that we're doing this summer. So one of the key pieces doing phase one, which is the addition, which is the highest priority as far as initial construction goes, is we need to demolish the admin and the guidance in the current building. So what we could have done is, once we award the contract to the general contractor to start the big project, we could have done this renovation to be able to move admin, guidance, and nurse, and to move them sometime in the October timeframe. The more that we plan on that, we thought that would be not the most ideal for parents, for students that would also be moved in the front entrance. So what we're doing is phase zero this summer. Actually, the contractor started today on the work. And what we're doing is moving and doing a temporary admin, guidance, and nurse. So what will happen is that this work will be completed when the full project contractor is on board. So that way there's not going to be any delay of time for them to be able to move forward. Plus, when students come back in August, this work has already been done. So the parent drop-off, the bus drop-off, and the relocation of admin, nurse, and guidance are already going to be completed before students start back. So site improvements, going from left to right, is that we're going to have a new bus drop-off off of Independence. We're also going to have a new car drop-off. One thing that you may notice is that we have the biggest separation possible on Independence from car and buses. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the conflict between the two. Bus drivers are awesome. Parents, not so much. So one of the things we want to try to do is try to keep them as separate as possible for safety. We also have the students will be going into 2 different lots. This will increase in the overall number of parking spaces. And we are, one of our goals is to make all the improvements on the Independence side as far as renovations go, to keep our costs down as far as stormwater goes, and overall improvements for utilities. So looking at the addition, we are looking at the building itself. The addition is happening, and I know you can't see my mouse, but from the line at the auditorium, well, you can, right there. So from there down is the addition. It is going to be 2 stories. So going from left to right is your kitchen, your dining room for your cafeteria, the purple space here. This is that Main Street. Your entrance is located here. This is admin and nurse. And then the blue spaces here are the classrooms. We are locating math on the lower level, and then English will be on the upper level. We are also looking to renovate the locker rooms, team rooms, going from left to right on the existing building. So locker rooms and team rooms. One of the most exciting things over the years has been there's a column right in the middle of the resting room. Unfortunately, we're going to have to remove that as part of this project, but it's going to be okay. We'll leave a spot there so that way that students don't forget that the column was there. Green space is going to be for exceptional education. And then we have CTE business lab spaces, the auditorium, and one of the biggest improvements we've been able to make is performing arts. Your band, your choral, all the ancillary spaces for the auditorium are literally adjacent to those spaces. So all the spaces, all the programs that utilize the auditorium the most are directly adjacent to it for that connection of functionality. So now as we go up to the upper level, again, the addition starts right here. So going from left to right, we have the auxiliary gym, the kind of second volume space for the cafeteria. This is that second floor Main Street. The steps that we were able to walk up and down, your media center here, which is in purple, Student services, your guidance, which is on the second floor. So one of the things that we've been able to do as part of this project is be able to separate the admin and nurse and the guidance. So one of the things for student services. So one of the things that that we often see is that students look at as student services as a comfort zone, and some, not all of us, look at the administration as being more of a punishment. So by separating them, but having an interconnecting stair allows the students to feel free to go to the comfort zone versus going to what may consider the punishment area. And then on the second floor, we have the English. The English had specifically requested to be by the media center, so that's where they're located on this space. So now as we go to the existing space, we're renovating student services, or I'm sorry, this is, oh my goodness, social studies, thank you. Social studies around the perimeter. The green is science. And then the remainder of this space is CTE. One of the many things that Christiansburg High School does is CTE, and that's career technology education. So that's everything from welding to culinary to childcare. You know, the majority, if not all of their programs are growing. Some things that were really super exciting is that we were able to have a lab and a separate classroom space for every single lab is now as part of this. Because if you've been to the space, a lot of the classrooms are inside of the labs, which is not the most awesome. So we now have a clean and I don't want to say dirty, but a dirty space. And some of the programs are growing and have such a long waiting list, like an example, like culinary and cosmetology, that we actually have 2 classrooms for the ability to have multiple classes happening at the same time. So there's so the CTE program in Christiansburg is absolutely fantastic, and we're super excited that the program is growing. As I said, and that is one of the areas that we've really been able to strengthen as part of this project. Real quick on the toilet rooms. Again, we have different varieties of toilet rooms, including the open to quarter. Some challenges that we've been seeing, not in just Christiansburg, but in high schools, elementary and middle schools all across the nation, is the bullying, the smoking, the vaping, the destruction, the vandalism that have all been happening. So what we're doing is we're trying to create an environment where students feel comfortable going to the restroom. So we have this style, which is the style that is open to the quarter with toilet partitions that go floor to ceiling. We also have traditional boys and girls rooms, and we also have individual toilets. And the goal is to give a comfort level to the students. So for some students, the highest anxiety of the day is when they have to go potty. And what we want to try to do is create different environments for them to feel comfortable that they can go there without the challenges. And oh, look at the video played today. And so here's a shot of what it would look, of the ones with the individual toilet stalls. They go floor to ceiling, and it said the sink is open to the quarter. One of the things that we found is that said this really does reduce the bullying, the vandalism, and the vaping, some of the other inappropriate behaviors that happen in high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. So talk about phasing. We're almost done. So in the phasing plan, we're looking to begin in August, July or August of this year. And what that means is that we would start the addition. So the first thing is that the contractor is going to begin the addition on Independence. So the fencing is going to go up, and that addition will happen. We're breaking the addition into 2 pieces because one of the things that's important is for us to complete the 2-story classroom wing by December of 2024. And what that means is that by doing that is that will allow us then to begin the phasing in the rest of the building, because the building is at capacity. There are no classrooms, there are no spaces. As a matter of fact, one of the stress points has been phase 0 because we're losing the ISS room. We're going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And how are we going to find this one room for the students? So a critical path, we're looking at completing the addition in 2 pieces. With the 22 classrooms, as I said, that will allow us to begin to now go in and move the groupings of classes over into the addition and allow us to do large expanses of classrooms renovated. Some keys in renovation is to have an exterior door, an exterior door window, so that way the contractor can be able to enter into that space without having to go down the corridors. What we want is to make the building as safe as possible during construction for the students and for staff, and also to reduce dust, noise, and odors. So our goal right now is to begin construction July or August of this year, and complete no later than December of 25. So what that means is that when the students come back January 3rd, 4th of 26, after the winter break, that the construction will no longer be happening at the building itself. So where are we? So the project is out for bid. Contractors started receiving, they were notified last week. We typically try to notify them early, so that way they are looking for the drawings, so the drawings are available to the contractors. The orders have been aggressively awesome in coming in as far as contractors being interested, which is fantastic. We have not seen that a lot in the last 2 years. That's part of the reason why construction costs have gone up. That's because folks are busy. So less contractors means that there's less bidders. That means that their prices are less aggressive. So we're looking to opening bids, receive bids from the contractors on July 11th, and then work through to start construction in the late July, early August timeframe. I said that it is going to be a phased construction, so over the next 2 years, we're going to see a lot of activity. That's going to be site work, that's going to be interior work. The good news is that any contractor who's going to be qualified to do this project is familiar with large complex phasing projects in a school. So this should not be the first rodeo for anybody who's going to be doing this work. So again, we're looking to complete in December of '25 and have the project complete. So with there'll be some normalcy in the building and everybody able to be able to continue their educational experience. So I thank you.
Thought we'd just stand with you for questions.
Okay. So are there any questions for any of the three of us?
Thank you. Let me go around the room and see. We'll start off with Supervisor King. No questions? Supervisor DeMott.
I'm just going to wait until the end of the presentation.
Okay. Does that, Supervisor Bone, consensus with everyone? Just wait till all of it?
This one's done. Everything? Okay, great.
So is that the consensus? Everybody wants to go through all the presentation and then?
I don't have any questions.
Okay,
I don't have any.
okay, all right. Continue on then.
Great. Thank you. Is it in board docs? The other presentations we sent? One that. It's okay. I can find it on our website if you want
Do
me
you
to.
have, did you send it
The
to
one I
us?
sent to you, yeah. It's okay. It won't take me long. I don't know who I can be, though. Is there anybody here logged in just to the internet? I just need to get.
Okay.
Here we go.
Are you trying to get to your board docs?
Yeah. I don't know what's happening, though, with the emojis. Do not show. Sorry. Where's the board? Oh, sorry.
Andy, if you go back one, there's a different link you can get to from your.
I think it's because you guys are logged in.
I
I think it's because you can't be in two board docs emails at the same time. Might not be.
I think you can.
Oh, I'm sorry. Word docs? Oh, great. There you go. All right. Problem solving, right? It's a good thing I've stood here a lot of times, or I might have been really nervous about that. So tonight, we're going to provide you updates on the projects that we've been talking with you guys about for about the last year. Just want to keep you informed and up to date on where we are of each of those projects. If I go too quickly, feel free to slow me down. So as a reminder, we'll talk about the funding sources, updates on the building projects, and then any questions that you may have about those projects. So I remember I came back last year and spoke to you all about the bond and the funds for the Christiansburg High School, and also about the ESSER funds and how they were not going to be able to be spent in the time that they needed to. So we were looking to identify projects that we could use those ESSER funds on so that we could free up those local funds for Christiansburg High School. And so this slide here is just to note to you all that we had anticipated last year that you were going to give us 2.259, and we were actually very thankful to receive about $90,000 more than that from the real estate taxes. So thank you very much for making sure that the schools got that funding. Just as a reminder for you, when we did this, we identified two sets of needs. Priority needs, those were things we felt were emergencies that, we really needed to try to look at right away if we could. And then the second were things that we felt should have been addressed in the current renovations of Bellevue Elementary and Christiansburg Elementary and Christiansburg Primary that had not been addressed in those original plans. So we'll talk about the safety updates first. They're kind of grouped together. Eastern Montgomery Elementary School, there was our water pressure control concerns for the sprinkler system. As a reminder to you, we've had a fire watch in effect the majority of the school year. What that means is there is a dedicated staff member at all times walking the building. The sprinklers do work, but they do not work at the capacity that they would like them to. So we've been collaborating with the PSA. We really appreciate their help, and Mr. Meadows as well, and Ms. Hill, as we've worked together to approach this problem. It's definitely been a collaborative effort. And so the original estimate was about $128,000. We are still estimating $375,000 approximately is where we are in our thought at this time, but we won't know until we get the design back. And so the county, as you know, did appropriate $100,000 towards that project. The internal pump system is in the design phase, and we had a 30-day required generator capacity load test that is being conducted. It's just about done. And then we had that reminder about the fire watch. And so as we get those designs back, then we would have to put them out for bid to know what the final cost is. So again, this is an estimate. We're taking into that what we've already spent, as well as what we anticipate may come once we get those design plans completed. Christiansburg Middle School, Falling Branch Elementary School, Montgomery Central Operations Center, SMS, and AES. I'm going to kind of go through those with you. As a reminder, they were approved for ESSER funding. CMS, the parts are being installed this summer. Falling Branch Elementary School, line replacement is completed. We actually needed to replace a switch, and so that's been ordered. At Auburn Elementary and Shawsville Middle School, the plans have been completed, and they're in their third-party review process that's required by the county. Our safety needs, we are exploring door barricade systems. We have ordered those to bring in and test in our classrooms, as well as shades for the doors. We've also purchased LifeVac choking rescue devices for each school. And then at this time, we're in the process of identifying where we want to put additional badge readers, with the goal at the elementary schools of focusing on our playground exits and entrances, and then looking at additional security cameras in our high schools. As a reminder, these were the roof inspection reports for the two schools when they were right about near done with the renovation, which is why we brought the recommendation to you that we needed to address the roofs at Bellevue Elementary School and Christiansburg Elementary Schools. Those were approved for funding through ESSER 3. The bid processes have been completed, and the work is happening this summer. Montgomery Central, the bid process closed on 5/31, and so we are in that award phase. We were when we did this presentation. Shawsville Middle School was approved for ESSER funding as well. The scope of that work has expanded, and so we are waiting for the design plan after we had the industrial hygienist come in. So we will update you once we have more information on that. Our HVAC priorities at KIPS, Christiansburg Elementary School, Bellevue and Harding Avenue. The projects were all approved for ESSER funding. Bellevue and Christiansburg Elementary are in the design phase, and Harding Avenue and Kipps Elementary, the design is completed, and they are out for bid at this time, and those bids will close on June 29th. The cooling tower repair at Auburn Elementary School was completed in February. Our exterior grounds priorities at Bellevue Elementary School, the kitchen loading dock needed to be addressed, and so our estimate was revised to $74,000. That design has been completed, and the work is being done over the summer. Eastern Montgomery Elementary School, repairing the leaking wall flashings. That revised estimate was higher than anticipated, and so we're just holding for a minute until we see what we get back on all of these projects, so then we can look at additional funding that we may need, what we may have available, if anything, left through ESSER, and then kind of to prioritize those projects if they come in over where we inspected them to. Our grounds priorities, the concrete steps at Shawsville Middle School, those were approved and they will be completed during the summer. Montgomery Central, replacing the water lines, that's in the design phase right now and was approved for funding through ESSER. And then updates on those current renovation projects. So again, these were things we felt should have been completed during the renovation. The playground equipment has been ordered and is being installed over the summer at Bellevue. The exterior doors and windows are being painted, as well as changing the interior doors. At Christiansburg Elementary School, the parking area came in much higher than we thought it would, and after we assessed our needs over the year, we do feel we're going to be able to continue forward with the way they were functioning last year, and so we do not plan to add additional parking at this time. We will be painting the exterior doors and windows and replacing those interior doors that needed replacing over the summer. And the funds for those existing projects were from the funds that were allocated for those schools. Christiansburg Primary, the multipurpose gym had not been addressed, and so we are painting the multipurpose gym. And that revised estimate is because we're doing that in-house and doing all of the painting ourselves. And so that was less than we had originally planned for. That's being completed this summer as well. Operations Storage Center, we've been working with the town of Christiansburg. They've been great partners for us in looking at how we're going to address that. So we're getting ready to move forward, finish the paving there. The underground detention system has been installed. We're awaiting that final design for the grading and paving. And then what we're doing is looking at assessing those needs in terms of what are we going to do with the storage and the buses. And we should have some other recommendations to bring to you at a later time. We just need the final number on what this project is going to be to close it out before we can come back to you with other discussions. And then the basketball court at Montgomery Central, as you know, the student gym was taken for the bus garage, and so we really feel those students need some space. Some of them actually have PE classes and things like that, and so that will happen over the summer. We will also be, when we're paving this summer, we'll be returning that space will be able to be used recreationally again. And so we're asking them to return it to field levels so that it can be used for soccer and the other sports that the recreation department was using it for previously. And then, as was mentioned, we are working to figure out what to do about Eastern Montgomery High School's track. We have completed a track study to look at what were the problems. They were pretty significant, so we got the track study back, and it is in the design phase at this time. We would then have to come forward with our master plan and make a plan for how to pay for that. That's a lot of information.
Good, thank you. We will go around the room to see if members have any questions or comments. We'll start off with Supervisor Bone.
So only a few items, actually the price went down, but pretty much everything went up somewhat substantially in places. Do you have funds? The ESSER funds are going to be
Yeah, so like one roof
used?
was higher, but one was much lower. So within the roofing category, we are completely fine. They're kind of categorized by safety, plumbing, HVAC, like that. So yes, if we've moved forward with any of them, it's because we do have the funding within that. If not, we're saying we're waiting, like that $111,000. We need to wait so that we can see what other projects come in before we say, yes, this is something we want to try to apply additional. If we have other funds available to it, we want the big picture before we come back and say, this came first, so we want to address that first. We'd rather look at it all at once.
And then the video of the proposed school made me dizzy, but besides that, it looks beautiful.
Thank you. It makes me a little dizzy too.
Supervisor Shepherd.
I have no questions, thank you.
Supervisor Fidzikowski?
Yeah, I thought of one for the high school. What does that bring you up for, how many students will be able to?
1,600 will be the capacity.
All right, that's all I got.
Supervisor King? Supervisor DeMott?
The video also made me dizzy. Took me a minute to recover when we were done from that, but it was a great video. It was beautiful, very well produced, and really showed a significant change to Christiansburg High School, especially with having all of the windows. I know that will be very valuable to the students and to the people that are working in the building. I really appreciate these updates because I think it shows awesome communication. It helps us understand where things are. And I know you went through it very quickly, but that was an incredible volume of projects and work that you've gone through in less than a year. So I want to thank you for the update and for sharing the information, and also commend you for how much you've been able to get done in 10 months. Thank you.
Vice Chair Biggs?
Well, I want to talk about Christiansburg High School because I spent many an hour in that school over the time I worked for Montgomery County Public Schools. I cannot believe it. And I want to especially comment on the fact, the openness of it. The light is unbelievable. What you've done with the dining area, the gym, the library. I used to spend a lot of time in the library. I mean, this is incredible. I'm really glad to hear about the security and the safety. I like the way, you enter and then you've got the administration over there. I think that's really important. The restrooms, I'm very aware of what goes on in the restrooms as far as the vaping and the bullying and all. I think that the way you've designed that, I think that's going to really be helpful. I like the idea of separating the guidance from administration because you're exactly right. No one wants to go to the office area, because that's where you go when you're in trouble. So I really like that aspect of it too. I'm really excited for the way if this all comes together, what this will mean for the students, the employees that work there, and for the community. What an asset. What an asset for the community and for everyone else. As far as your projects, you have done so much getting all this information together. Do you all post this on your website or anything, so people could actually view where you are with the projects? And
That's a great idea. We just have this presentation up. Our plan for Christiansburg High School is to have a website that is updated, very, very regularly. One of our new project managers actually flies drones, so he's going to do it for us. I hadn't thought about the others, but we could absolutely do that.
that's so
Great
much
idea.
work that you have accomplished, and to see it, because I know a lot of citizens are out there and they're really interested in it. So I just want to compliment you all the way around. So thank you.
Thank you.
I, too, am very excited with the renovations of Christiansburg High School. It will be an asset, and our students and citizens will greatly benefit from that. Now, am I to understand that this is the final design? Of course, bidding goes out, and depending on how much the bids come in, there could be some adjustments.
Yeah, there can always be what's called value engineering, right? You look at the bid and then say, here's what we need to cut, where we need to go from there. But we feel like we've done a lot of that already. And so we were able, from that last, the first drawing where we said we've got to scale all of this back, because we captured a lot of empty spaces, we were able to not lose classrooms, and that was really meaningful to us. But there could certainly be changes, and there will be, because there will be things that we discovered that we didn't know. When you rip out a wall, you don't always know what you're going to find behind it, and sometimes those are things that you have to deal with. But this is the plan to be, as close as can be to the final project.
It looks beautiful, and that brought up another question. A good segue is that when you're doing these renovations, have we gone back and inspected to make sure that there are not issues with the roof, with anything to make sure? So I don't want to do these renovations and have a problem like we did at
Yes,
Christiansburg
ma'am.
Elementary with a failed roof and stuff like that. So we're going to make sure that
Yes.
foundation and all of that is inspected.
I'm sure I said that in a very poignant way to Josh when we first started working together, please tell me this roof is being addressed.
Right.
So yes, we're looking at all of those things. We have a really thorough understanding. We have great staff who know the buildings very well, and so they were able from the beginning to help Josh and his team on this. But, you know, there's some structural issues in that building, and that's one of the main reasons, you know, we need to address this, because those are things we have to take care of now. So we've worked really hard to identify those. I can't say there's nothing we won't find that we don't know about, but we've worked really hard to make sure that we've got the full picture.
That's great, that's great. And then on the design, talking about the capacity with this moving forward would be about 1,600, and someone said we are at capacity right now. What is the population or number at the high school currently?
So we have over 1,000 kids. You know, in terms of capacity, in space, there are no more spaces. But are there room for children in classrooms? Yes, there are. You know, we're not at a place where we can't let kids come to the school, but all of the classrooms are spoken for, is what Josh was saying.
Okay, so we have about 1,000 students currently.
Yeah,
And
about, it might be 1,036, might be.
and the current school capacity is
1,200, I believe.
1,200?
It's 1,200, yeah.
And then the new design would be a capacity of about 1,600. Good. And then you said you didn't lose any classroom spaces, but did we add classrooms?
Oh, yes, we have 20, I meant from that first drawing, right? We didn't have to cut programs out. And so, yeah, there's 22, that front of the building, everything's brand new. So everything he showed you from right to left is brand new, and that top and bottom is 22 brand new classrooms. And then every room, every space in the building is being renovated.
Very good. I thought that's but to clarify, when you said we didn't lose any, I thought, well, 22. Yeah. And then a concern, one thing I just, will that be where the outside cafeteria areas, that is going to be there's a parking lot there, but is that just bus parking only?
So on the left of the building, if you're looking at it, that's the loop, right? And then you'll have parking in the front and also on the side as well.
Is there a concern with safety being accessible if people are outside, the students are outside, and that's a parking lot?
Well, there'll be the drop-offs here, right? So you have the bus loop on this side, and then the parent drop-off here, and that's staff parking here. And then the student parking is over on this side.
Very good. Well, I am extremely excited. I look forward to moving forward on this project. Christiansburg's been waiting quite a while for that. And then I'm excited to make sure that all the ESSER funds are addressing the roofs. And then you said some of these other projects, there was leftover money from the original
So
renovation.
for Christiansburg, the projects that we're, wrapping up, Christiansburg Elementary, Bellevue, and Christiansburg Primary, the painting and the windows and things, that was from the funds that we had for it. Okay. And so we are using those funds to finish out those projects.
Okay, all right, very good. Any follow-up questions or comments? Well, thank you all. This was great. I would encourage more communication, that we are aware, and it was a great idea that Vice Chair said, Biggs, about having this information available to the public, and it might even be because we always get questions every day, when they started on Christiansburg High School. So maybe just an update that citizens can follow along as well on the update of progress. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for both being here. Thank you. All right. All right, do I have a motion to come out of work session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Chakowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right. Next up, items of consent.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Chakowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, first up, under new business, FY 2023-24 budget appropriations, and that is for the dollar amount of $236,357,597. And out of that, Out of that, Montgomery County Public Schools gets $162.7 million. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, next, ordinance amending Chapter 2, cost reimbursement for EMS transport.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. And now discussion.
Just have a few questions on this. It says the 170% of Medicaid cost or something?
Brad, you what? Assistant County Administrator St. Clair has worked real closely with the county attorney and with, our fire and rescue folks on that. Brad, can you help us with some of those?
I can sure try. So during the development of the resolution, we worked closely with or examined other resolutions, other ordinances, specifically the town of Christiansburg that's been doing this for quite a while. And since they're doing it in the county, and some of the calls that they answer, or a lot of the calls that they answer are actually in the unincorporated parts of the county that are in their first due, we wanted to try to remain consistent with the kind of the practice that they're doing. And so we will be billing, or we propose to bill a percentage of the Medicare allowable rate. Now that rate is set for different things like a BLS response, a basic life support response, an ALS response, and when that bill is sent, the insurance company is going to look at that and determine, was it a necessity? Did you have a paramedic responded to something, and did it warrant this bill? They're going to examine that, and it's going to get negotiated out. And so, in keeping with kind of what's been deemed as the standard practice, most everyone is billing at a percentage of the Medicare rate, and it's in excess of that. The other way to do it would be to, if the Medicare rate's $100, you could put $100 in there. You could say we want to do 150%. You can make it $150, but every time the Medicare rate changed, you would have to come back before the board and change that dollar amount because you'd have a set dollar amount. This gives you a percentage of whatever the rate is, and so if next year or the year after that, it's already kind of a chart there. It's established by the federal government. They set it. As that rate changes, the board wouldn't have to take action to adjust that. It would automatically be there. So that was the thought process behind that.
All right, and it says on 6, if the insurance company deems the transport not medically necessary, the bill company will verify the information that was submitted and submit it again for reconsideration. If the insurance carrier still deems it not medical necessary to ride an ambulance, the county administrator or his or her designee will review the individual case for a possible waiver of fees. I thought when we started this, we was just going to do, if the insurance paid, that'd be extra good. If they didn't, we move on.
We're not billing any citizen. The waiver of fee would be that we're just going to drop it. If the insurance company is going to examine this, so I think maybe Marty could give some clarity here, but at the end of the day, if we bill it twice and they're saying we're not going to pay it and we're saying we think you owe it, we're kind of in an impasse. And so at that point, the option would be to seek some type of legal remedy, and I don't know that we're looking to do that.
I think that provision is talking about your dealings with the insurance company, not with the patient.
Yeah, not with the patient. We don't want to get into.
So if the insurance company challenges it, says it shouldn't have been done, we look into it and we agree, then we say, fine, we waive it. We won't be seeking their payment. I think that's what that's talking about.
All right, let me find this other one. All right. Compensated billing is intended to eliminate or minimize out-of-pocket expense for consumers of ambulance service.
Correct.
What that
We,
mean?
what, we should not even be charging citizens for, if the insurance pays, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
correct.
we won't be charging citizens. I think that's just a general statement saying that compassionate billing is to eliminate that.
No, that says what you're saying, and that is that with compassionate billing, we will not be seeking those charges from citizens.
It says billing is intended to eliminate or minimize out-of-pocket.
So I think what you're saying, Todd, why is the or minimize out-of-pocket expenses for consumers of ambulance services? Why is that in there? Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
why is that in there?
I think that's what he's saying. Because it sounds like you could still
You could-
charge them.
Could you strike or minimize and just leave it as compassionate billing is intended to eliminate?
Yeah, we could do that.
Do what?
Strike or minimize?
If this goes through, I just don't want citizens to pay nothing out of pocket. They're already paying taxes.
I think that's the idea, is that most through Medicaid, and correct me, Medicaid, Medicare, or private insurance, most of those have coverage for medical transport. And so we would bill the insurance provider, not the citizens, nor would we deny any type of care to a citizen. And then the compassionate billing is there to make sure the citizens understand that it's waived, there's no cost to them. It is, am I saying that correctly? It is to the, understanding that correctly, that is to the insurance company. So I agree, we should probably strike out the minimize so it's
Yeah,
not in.
or minimize. That, we could take that out, right? Would that do, Todd?
To amend that?
To take or
Yeah,
minimize?
that'd be fine.
Okay.
I don't want no words in here to say that we can go back and say, all right, pay your bill.
There will be no bill or invoice to any citizen. It would be through the billing invoice through the insurance company only, correct?
That's how we've set up in all of our discussions with potential vendors. We've been adamant that they understand that our process will not include any billing of the actual citizen or the patient. It will only be to the insurance company.
And this process of where we're at today has been something we've discussed for the last several years with the town of Christiansburg already implementing that. And I see tonight that the town of Blacksburg is moving forward with this as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have
April, I'm
a
sorry.
follow-up question. With an insured, so I'm Anthem Insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield. So if you send a bill to my insurance carrier, there might be a copay or a deductible or something like that. How does this, I guess I'm not seeing clearly how I wouldn't get a bill for a portion of the service.
Yeah, we're not going to issue a bill. So if you go to the hospital and you have a 20% copay and your bill's $1,000, then the hospital, Anthem's going to negotiate or whatever, and they're going to pay a certain amount. And then you're going to get that bill from the hospital for $200. Well, us being the hospital, so to speak, or the biller, we're not going to send that bill. It's not the insurance company that send that bill. It would be Montgomery Regional or whatever your medical provider is. Well, we would be the one that would send that bill, and we're choosing not to send it. So we would not be sending a bill for that copay if you have one.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other?
I have one more
Certain.
follow-up question that we had a citizen ask a series of questions during public address. I am interested in, with collection of the fees, whatever we collect, what's the accounting process for that after we collect it? How does that go back out to fund the agencies?
Well,
Proportionally or?
The only agency charging is the county.
So Montgomery County EMS would be the only agency, so the volunteers, okay, so
No
then.
volunteers,
No
just
volunteers.
ours. Yeah.
Okay, so then Montgomery EMS would be sending the bill, revenues received would be going towards offsetting the cost associated with running.
There'll be revenues that
The service.
help offset the cost, yes.
And I don't know that would be something, I guess, from the direction of Mr. Meadows through the board is what that money would go to. But Yes, we would be the ones sending that bill, and just like Christiansburg sends a bill, Blacksburg, when they implement this, would be doing theirs, and they would be handling their funding as they see fit.
This is what, I know this board has talked about this several times throughout the years. We've referred to it as soft billing. Is that what we're looking at here, is the soft billing type system?
Yes.
Okay.
It will show as designated revenue that will offset the EMS department.
Okay. So anything collected would then immediately have to be respent in the same
Yes, so when
department.
you approve the budget, that, as it was this year, there will be a line item in the budget for the revenue amount. So the general fund dollars that have to offset that are undesignated will be lower. So
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. St. Clair, could you explain the difference, it talks about fees here, ALS, BLS?
Yeah, so there's a couple tiers of billing that's allowed by the federal government under this. There's a BLS level rate that's for a basic response that would include a response by an EMT for a general type call. And then there are a couple levels of ALS response, which would be your more serious type call, severe trauma, heart attack, patients with pre-existing conditions. It just really depends on the circumstances, but your ALS will be your paramedic response, something that may require a higher level of intervention than the BLS provider can give.
So the ALS provider is the paramedic, correct?
Correct.
Now, to make sure everybody understands that's the same, and that that's for your more severe injuries, heart attack, cardiac,
Yeah, it just depends. Our 911 center has emergency medical dispatch, as everybody knows, so that system's designed to try to get as much information as possible from the caller, and based on that system, the input that they get, it can code calls. And so you hope to have a good idea of what type of response you have, but it's also dependent upon the information that they're receiving. They do a great job, but as you know, on the end of that line, they're constrained by the information they're getting from the scene. And so at the end of the day, the insurance is going to look at it and determine, what was the circumstances, what was the patient's condition, what type of pre-existing conditions. Someone that's relatively healthy and 20-year-old with certain conditions may not meet the level of a type of paramedic response, whereas someone that maybe is 80 years old with the same type of conditions, because of their health or their age or whatever, may need a paramedic. And so it's just really dependent on each call. But the paramedic response is for the more serious type of call that could result in a serious outcome, death or something like that. So.
And that couldn't be verified until the emergency services were at a scene to assess.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to. Like I said, dispatchers do a great job getting all the information they can, but from my experience, you just don't know. Some calls you would get and you go in expecting the absolute worst, and you get there and it's not to the level, and other calls you expect it to be a fairly, what we would term, routine call, and you get there and it's a totally different. It's just whatever information they're getting, they pass along to you, but until you're on scene that you can assess it, it's hard to tell.
So the ALS is the highest level of care before the hospital of emergency.
Yes, a paramedic is the highest level licensed care that you can receive in the field until you arrive at a hospital or seen by a physician.
Okay. Right. And we had a citizen ask about, and I think you explained this, but about adjusting the rates. That's why, so you don't have to keep going back depending on what the...
Yeah, because the federal government adjusts the rates every year accordingly. There's a chart that's already out through like 2030, but that those are predicted rates. They'll change and they'll set them each year. And so instead of coming back in front of the board each year and asking for a new resolution with a new rate, we just said to do a percentage of that rate, whatever the rate is for that year.
Okay. Thank you. Any other follow-ups for the members?
One more.
Supervisor King?
If this goes through and we're going to charge for services, is GTM gonna be on top of the fees that we charge for the ambulance or the mileage?
It's
Or
part
is it
of
gonna be included?
mileage.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the equation, Mr. King. There's several things in there from mileage, your actual area, your zip code determines if you're rural, super rural, suburban. The rates are different for all those different areas. And then there's mileage. There's also what level of care you provide. So all that kind of gets examined call to call. So mileage would be a portion of that calculation that's factored in.
So it'd be in with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that came up too is with ALS or BLS, the billing's based on the level of treatment that's needed for the patient. It's not necessarily which one responds as well, so.
Right. It's determined, the insurance companies do what they do. We all know how they operate. And so it's just like if you go to the hospital and want to get a test done because you're having a back pain, you may have to go through 15 other steps before you get an MRI. It has to be approved. Well, this is the same thing. They're going to look at each call and determine if the bill is appropriate based on the circumstances and the documentation. And so that's kind of how it's handled.
There was a citizen's question about when will that information be obtained? That is going to be
The insurance information.
insurance information.
Right. So I was speaking with Chief English, and I think he's got a really good understanding of the field level because he's done this for years. But it's my understanding that the majority of that's going to be obtained on the back end from the vendor. But he has worked out the process. He can probably give you a lot better description of it than I can.
Yeah, we left it a little vague because we are waiting on finalizing with the vendor. But what was in all of the proposals and what was in the RFP was that our ideal situation is that all of that insurance information gets obtained on the back end through working with the hospitals and the paperwork. Our big thing is we didn't want to show up and ask for your insurance card. I think that's in poor taste, and that's not what the patient needs at that time. And so our goal would be that we provide the care, we get you to the hospital, and really the only thing that comes up during the call as far as billing is if you're able, you would sign saying that you're okay with us sending the bill to your insurance company. To address another question that had come up, if you were unconscious or you're not able to handle that at that time, the billing vendors work with that. They work with you and they can send you that afterwards. But to answer your question, our goal would be to get that information through the hospital and through the electronic report system, not asking for insurance cards while we're actually taking care of the patient.
Good, very good.
We wanted to take all that off of the first responder. They focus on the patient care. And then on the back end, we'll work through the logistics of getting what information we need.
And currently, the town of Christiansburg does do this type of bill invoicing.
They do.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
And if the individual doesn't have to go to the hospital?
If there's no transport, there's no bill.
Now, is this fee gonna be for volunteers and paid staff?
Right now will be, the ones billing would be the town of Christiansburg, the town of Blacksburg once they pass it, and then Montgomery County Fire EMS staff. If other volunteer agencies want to come on, they would have to make that decision that they wanted to do that. There are some, I think, Dave knows some history of that, but it's been discussed, but it's kind of been up to each volunteer agency if they want to participate in that. Is that correct?
Yeah. The way it was written, it's open for any of the agencies, but it's not forcing anyone's hand. If they choose to do it, they can, but they're not being required to. But Blacksburg is essentially an all-volunteer agency, and we do plan to move towards this. So unfortunately, with inflation and costs going up, a lot of, even without having to deal with the personnel costs, just the general costs of doing business are getting so high that we think this revenue recovery is necessary now.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Very good. Next up, resolution establishing fees for EMS transport services.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
We don't know what the fee is.
170% of the Medicare allowable.
All we know is 170%.
Correct.
That's where Mr. St. Clair was just saying the reason that it's set at 170% of the Medicare allowable is because that amount changes every year, but our 170% will not change every year. We can always calculate out what the fee would be based on what the Medicare care allowable fee is.
And if you ever talk to physicians, they say that Medicare does not pay for the services, so having a supplement to bill insurance companies makes a lot of sense.
Well, I understand that, but somebody on another private insurance company, they go say, well, how much you go charge me? Well, we don't know.
Wouldn't it be the exact same, 170% of the Medicare allowable? So that's the fee regardless.
Do you know how much that is?
We can look it up.
All insurance companies.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody
All
knows what
insurance-
170% is.
All insurance companies know what the Medicare rates are.
I'm
and
talking
it's
about
just-
individuals.
Nothing's going to the individuals, ever.
We good? Okay. Any other further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next up, acknowledging the Town of Blacksburg resolution seeking the reimbursement for the EMS transport services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who we reimbursing?
This is for them to seek. They're letting us, acknowledging that they're,
Yeah, the way it works is the state law says there's a 180-day period that the town would normally have to wait. But we're acknowledging that they're doing this and we're going to waive that 180-day period so that the town could then start charging once they enact their ordinance.
So we have to wait 180 days for
We do, the county does, but the town, we're letting the town go ahead, and we did the same thing with Christiansburg.
So actually, it's not going to start July 1.
I'm sorry?
So actually, it's not going to start July 1 if we got to wait 180 days.
It goes into effect July 1, then we got to wait 180 days from that. Yeah.
Start collecting.
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, that would be for calls that we ran in the corporate limits of the town.
Oh.
Any call that we run outside in the uncorporate limit, we could go ahead and start billing as soon as the ordinance goes into effect.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, gentlemen.
He's got it down.
all right, so motion and a second.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Very good. All right. Up next, resolution to amend Fire and Rescue Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Supervisor King?
What's the purpose of adding somebody? I mean, we already got fire and rescue from every town and county. What's the purpose of adding these others?
Aren't
Which
they?
others, like the representatives from the town of Blacksburg and the town of Christiansburg?
Yeah.
It's already.
They're already.
I think they're already on there, yeah. The only change is this kind of updated what the current world is? Like, so like when you guys first created the Rescue Commission, Fire Rescue, Reiner didn't exist, Reiner Volunteer Rescue, so that's now on there. Virginia Tech Volunteer Rescue was added, and then Montgomery Fire EMS was added, and then Shawsville was removed.
I believe the term also changed from 3 years to
To 1
one
year.
because the chiefs could be reappointed every year. The chiefs could change, so we changed it from 3 to 1.
And those are the only changes, I think.
That and allowing the chiefs of all the volunteer agencies ask, instead of having an appointed alternate, if they could have a blank alternate. So if that chief couldn't be there that night, they could simply reach out and say, this person is my alternate for that meeting. Because sometimes it's hard to, with the schedules, to have someone that's dedicated as that alternate that can always be there, and they want to make sure we had representation. So they would be able to reach out to the county and say, this person is representing our station tonight.
I just wondered, because it says go from 13 to 15 voting members. Are there 15 voting members now?
There's 13 now. Well, there's 13 when you created it.
No, I mean voting members.
Oh, yeah. When you created it, there were 13 voting.
Right.
Now, because of the adding and subtracting, you have 15. We've added 3 and lost 1, so now you have 15. Added Reiner, added the county EMS, and added Virginia Tech, and then you lost Shawsville. So you went from 13 to 15 voting members now.
So in not counting the fire chiefs and the rescue captains, the 2 towns already had a voting member on there?
Yes, sir.
Besides them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep,
So just for clarification, this hasn't been updated since 2004, is that correct?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's why the changes to
And
reflect.
then the other thing you're doing is you guys require anytime the bylaws change of the commission that you guys review those and approve them. And this is also doing that.
And the commission, again, to review, the Fire and Rescue Commission is an advisory board, and it is, their duties are to review capital equipment needs for fire and rescue operations, effectively communicate future fire and rescue capital needs for Montgomery County, working with County Emergency Service Coordinator to make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors in developing a comprehensive strategic plan for fire and rescue services in Montgomery County, making funding recommendations based upon the plan and upon compliance with other requirements established by the Board of Supervisors. The Fire and Rescue Commission shall work with the Emergency Services Coordinator to establish countywide response goals for fire and rescue incidents and any other matters concerning fire and rescue services in Montgomery County as identified by the Board of Supervisors. And that has not changed, correct?
No, ma'am.
And I had a question on these 15 voting members. Those members that are the chief from the volunteer services, those are all, the chief is by and elected by the members of the volunteer services, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, and then it's going to give, if he can't be there, he's going to designate someone, and that is the voice for the volunteers, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions?
Just one more. It says 1 member rescue chief or designee by rescue chief. Notification must be given to emergency service coordinator prior to each commission meeting. From each of the volunteer rescue squads, that was marked out. Now you got EMS agency. What was the volunteers marked out for?
I don't know. Are you looking at the bylaws?
Yeah. Number 3.
That to include both, so it covers both?
Number 2, actually.
It's on
Paid and
page 2
volunteer?
of 7, at the top. Number 2.
I think that would be so instead of, because not, some of the agencies are not all volunteer.
Well, all volunteers are EMS.
Yeah.
And if you didn't say it, then you'd have to put in there EMS and volunteers.
Right.
But all volunteers
Yeah.
and our EMS are all EMS.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's the catch-all for all of them.
Okay.
Trying to save ink.
Correct.
So EMS includes everyone by saying that.
It also includes the pay EMS.
Correct. Yes.
But they don't have a representative.
Any other comment? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Lost my place. Hold on just one second. Sorry about that. Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, next, resolution, VDOT six-year secondary road improvement plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Was there any discussion on the priority of this list? Supervisor Shepherd?
Well, yeah, I'd like for us to take a look at it at some point. I know I've been awful needy tonight. Given the situation that there's so many people, I guess, use it and it needs so little work and probably a minimal amount of money compared to some of the other projects, but we'll talk about that for another day.
Any other further comment, discussion?
No, I think that what Mr. Clark was trying to say was that if it turned out that they were waiting on something for one of the other projects ahead, and they had the money, and they knew what it would be to move ahead to number 6, then they would just do it. So.
And I thought that's what I thought that was my understanding to begin with. That's the reason I asked the question, and that's not the answer I got. But anyway,
Well, I think he's in the past he's come to us and said that exact same thing.
Right.
That
I knew
hey,
he had
you know,
that.
we have to wait on this project for something not related to money, but we have the money. We can knock this one out. And
right.
For the Taylor Hollow. It was up, but then it went down, you know, so.
Very good.
It's all good.
Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, next up, VDOT Standard Project Administration Agreement, Falling Branch.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. ACE, Memorandum of Agreement for FY 2024.
Aye. I mean,
Motion.
so moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I just wanted to add that this year we are committing $450,000 for that. And throughout the years, as we have committed and put money towards that program, it's my understanding that we've never, ACE has never had to invoice us for all of that. We've had some money left over, and that is in part because of the generosity of our private sponsors, businesses, and industries in Montgomery County. And of course, for the eligibility, and if I'm understanding correctly, the projected enrollment for this coming up year for $450,000 will be plenty, will not use all of that. Is that my
Yes,
understanding
that's correct.
correctly?
Each year when New River sends us an invoice for the students that have been involved in the ACE program, we have fully funded that each year, and we will continue to do so.
Very good. And I think the county, we have allocated about $2.25 million and only used about $1.675.
That's correct.
That's it.
Yes. Over the life of the program, which I think has been 6 years, I think, that we're getting ready to start the 7th year, I believe.
So again, I appreciate the board's complete commitment for ACE and supporting that. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr.
And
Motts?
remember, you too can be a supporter of ACE as an individual.
Thanks, man.
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Chair Blevins?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Very good. All right, reports. County Attorney.
I have no report, Madam Chair.
You knew he was going to say that. That's why you.
Yes. County Administrator.
I actually do have not a lengthy report, but a few things I want to point out this evening. First off, I attended the Virginia Local Government Management Association Annual Conference last week in Virginia Beach, along with our Deputy County Administrator. And while we were there, on Thursday morning, there's an award that's given by VLGMA each year called the Marcia Mashal Award. This is an award that is given to an outstanding deputy assistant in one of the localities in Virginia, and it's named for Marcia Mashal, who was a assistant town manager in Blacksburg back during the 80s, who passed away suddenly. So it's always been it's a very prestigious award that VLGMA gives each year, and our recipient for 2023 was none other than our Deputy County Administrator. So very, very honored to have that opportunity to be there for that, and very, very much well-deserved. Thank you, Angie, for all that you do for us. Today, I had the opportunity to spend most of the day in interviews with A&E firms related to the design of the upcoming passenger rail station. We hope to have a recommendation to the Passenger Rail Station Authority Board when we meet on June 22nd. Had several really good interviews today, and we're working through that process right now, but that's a very important project, and we're going to keep it on track.
Full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Passenger Rail Authority, but we've got so many one-liners, but yeah, full steam ahead. It's all on track. It's all good. We're not going to run out of steam. Angie and I, along with several board members, I believe, will be attending the VACO Region 10 meeting, which is Wednesday afternoon in Rocky Mount. So we'll head down to hear what's going on with all things VACO, and also hopefully get an update on if and when, if at all, the General Assembly is going to reconvene for a budget this year. I just don't know. And continuing the theme of good news, I wanted to share with the board this evening that we submitted several applications for consideration to the National Association of Counties for their annual award program, their Achievement Award. And not only did we win one, we won two, we won three NACO awards. Huge testament to our staff. The three awards are for the county's involvement with the wetland mitigation project on Crab Creek in the county. The second award is for the Montgomery County Animal Care and Adoption Center's surgical wing. And the third award, which has a special heart for several of us that have worked closely with this group over the last year, we received an award in recognition of the county's Employee Engagement Committee. So, you know, we've got a new trophy case out there that we've got some things in. We're going to have to get a bigger wall pretty soon, because Jen and her team have done a great job pulling all this together, and it just is a testimony to the hard work of our employees every day. And so that's all I have this evening.
Are we going to put that on our website?
Absolutely. I didn't ask, but absolutely.
Okay, board reports. Supervisor Shepherd.
No report.
Supervisor Fidzikowski.
Well, first I'll start off by congratulating Angie. Good job. Doesn't surprise me a bit, but thank you for being who you are. We like having award winners working here. Which brings me to my next point. The Eastern Montgomery High School girls soccer team has won the state championship 3 years in a row.
Yay.
Awesome team. What even makes it more awesome is the last 2 years, the team they had to beat to be state champions was the Auburn High School girls soccer. So, I mean, I think soccer's pretty established in Montgomery County. So I just wanted to mention that. That's all I got.
Supervisor King.
I'm still waiting on your check, Steve. Just got a couple of things. You know, school's going to start up, I think it's August 15th, 16th, first day. I'd like for us to have another discussion on school resource officers at our next meeting. I would like to put that on the agenda for us to have another discussion. I'm really concerned about this. I represent several families in Christiansburg. Some of us, not only me, but some of the other board members represent Christiansburg. And I would ask that it be put on the agenda for the next meeting. I also sent out an email last week asking people if we could have a extended work session on this EMS deal. I would like to hear back from each one of you if you would be willing to go, or we can just put it out here. Thank you.
Supervisor DeMott.
Well, just to add to the VACO meeting, I'll be one of the group that's in attendance. I'm not sure who else is going. I know, Mary, you are, aren't you? Of course. So Mary and I, there is, prior to the meeting convening, and I'm hoping to be able to get there in time, at 2:00 p.m., there's a conflict resolution workshop. So it's a little bit of education plus a meeting where you'll be able to speak with some of your legislators. Hopefully they've all been invited. Maybe they'll all come. But I look forward to seeing you guys in Rocky Mount on Wednesday.
Supervisor Bone.
I had the opportunity to drive around the Reiner Park and see the gravel and all the leveled fields and all that kind of stuff. And it's definitely a different, like, you see the maps that are presented to us and stuff like that, but to actually be there. And it's so strange to have drainage ditches kind of isolated throughout, but however they want to construct, looks good, but it looks great. Hopefully it'll be done someday soon.
Vice Chair Biggs.
I sent out a reminder for the VACO thing to you all if you hadn't registered and you still wanted to. We'd love to have everybody there if possible. And I want to congratulate Angie again and congratulate Jen for all her hard work getting us those awards. And just thank each and every one of you for your support when I was doing my finger issue in the hospital. So thank you so much. That's it.
Good. Again, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Hill on her award. And with that, with a winning of awards, the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce awarded Montgomery County as one of the best places to work for government. So for our employees, that we are just so proud of our employees. And then we had 2 employees that won the 40 Under 40 prestigious award, and that was our Justin Sanders from Planning and our Tiffany Couch, the clerk of the circuit court. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to the soccer for Eastern Montgomery High School for the Mustangs for their 3rd time that Mr. Fidzikowski said. And a shout out to Auburn. They played an awesome game. And then congratulations to the softball team in Auburn, 4-time champion. So congratulations to them as well. And with that being said, we stand adjourned. Thank you.